Hi everybody, welcome to day 14 and it's the alphabet N and it's N for Narasimha. So Narasimha is quite literally the man-lion. Man, Simha, lion, man-lion. He's the fourth avatar of Vishnu in the Dasha avatar. And this avatar came into being very specifically to bring down the Asura king, Hiranyakashipu or Hiranyakashipu, which translates interestingly as the soft cushion of gold. And it's a rather bizarre name for uh, anybody, but well, what's in the name? Hiranyakashipu was a very, very angry Asura king because his brother had been killed by the Varaha avatar of Vishnu, and he wanted to be invincible and immortal and indestructible. So he put forth major penances and went through major trials so that he could gather boons to achieve this. And he prayed and did penances to Brahma. And what the boon that he gained was that he could not be killed in night or day, indoors or outdoors, by any weapon or by man or beast. This was a compromise because Brahma said nobody can be indestructible. You have to be very specific on what you want to boon about. Well, so that there's always a backdoor by the way. Hiranyakashipu's son Prahlad was his greatest sorrow. He had become a bhakt of Vishnu and saw Vishnu in everything and everywhere. One day, in sheer frustration, his father kicked a pillow on the veranda of his castle, saying, "If there really is a Vishnu in everything, let him come forth." And Vishnu, tired by then of Hiranyakashipu also, and by then the gods had been begging Vishnu, the lesser gods, that he please put an end to this menace. So Hiranyakashipu's days had been numbered. Vishnu burst through out of that pillar in his form as Narasimha, half man, half lion. As luck would have it, it was a pillar on the veranda, not indoors nor outdoors. And it was twilight, neither day nor night. And without using any weapons, but with just his claws and fangs, Narasimha rent Hiranyakashipu asunder, tore open his stomach, and pulled out his entrails, and then completely went ape shit. So, uh, this is a very, very ugra form of Vishnu. This is a very, very angry form of Vishnu. This is a form that needs to be propitiated. This is a form that needs to be cooled and kept. This is a form that must be worshipped with great care, that all the correct worships are done. He's usually worshipped as a four-armed, lion-headed man, often maybe the four-headed of Vishnu, but more often than not, two of his hands are in the belly of Hiranyakashipu, who's on his knee. So he holds him up on his knee so that he's neither in the air nor on the ground. Okay, that was also part of the boon. And he tears him asunder. I came across Narasimha very, very early in my life when I went to watch a Kathakali program. And amongst the dances, and as a child, I was greatly intrigued by the face paint and the elaborate costuming. And then they did the Narasimha Vada. And there was this Hiranyakashipu, very much like the one you see here, though I think he had a green face, but maybe I'm wrong. And he dug his hands into the stomach. And I loved the way Hiranyakashipu fell. He kind of sat down and fell so that his head was held up by this stool on one side and he was on a stool on the other side. Here it's a crate. But that's the only way in this getup, he could be on Narasimha's knee. And then Narasimha tore his stomach and pulled out large bunches of coir rope, which were the intestines that he was yanking out. And I think I was a 7 or 8 year old kid, I was completely taken away by that. This was it, blood, gore, and intestines, all of it thrown together. So Narasimha has been something that's uh, always been a god that I'm rather partial to when I think of the iconography. So he's often worshipped simply as Kevala Narasimha, sitting with one knee up in a very quiet form, usually just holding the discus of Vishnu in one arm. And one of the most beautiful examples of this is seen at Ramtek and was built by the Vakatakas actually. It was surprisingly worshipped as a form of Maruti. And for years and years, women had been putting vermilion, and it was this big blob of vermilion. And then when Dr. APJ Ambedkar became director of the State Department of Archaeology, he had it cleaned and then virtually chip away the outer layers. And inside they found this amazing statue of Narasimha that I'll be showing you in a bit. He is also often worshipped as Yoga Narasimha. Is shown in a seated yogic position with a yoga patta around his knee. And he's also shown as Lakshmi Narasimha with Lakshmi seated on his left knee. As I said, he's a very Ugra deity and he needs to be propitiated. In the Shaivite pantheon, very often when the Shaivite pantheon, especially in southern India where it's very popular and needs to show its mastery over the Vaishnavite pantheon, there is a very, very interesting form of Shiva called the Sharabha, which is this multi-armed, multi-legged, lion-headed form of Shiva, which is used to calm down Narasimha. And he holds Vishnu down by his paws, Vishnu as Narasimha, till he calms down from this anger and rage of the form of Narasimha. And that's a very interesting story of the kind of politics that there is even amongst worship and worshippers. So there are different very early and very unique forms of Narasimha that we see. Some of the earliest forms come to us from northwestern India and Kashmir. On the left-hand side, you have a Chaturmukha image of Vishnu where there's a Varaha and a Narasimha head attached to the head of Vishnu. You also have this beautiful seated Narasimha, very, very unique from some part of Afghanistan. Nobody really knows exactly, to the best of my knowledge, where this is from. I think it's in the Metropolitan Museum today. And it's a truly, truly beautiful image. Interestingly, he has lion paws also, which have claws in them as part of his feet. And then, of course, you have the standard image of Hiranyakashipu over the knees and his stomach being torn apart by Narasimha that you see on the right. And of course, there is a Prahlad image of Prahlada bending down sometimes. I'm not very sure what image this is, but usually Prahlad is shown with his arms clasped next to Narasimha. So these are some of the other images in places where the worship was very, very strong. On the left is from Nepal. And in Nepal, the worship of Narasimha is a very, very important part and a parcel of the Nepalese pantheon. Here you have a beautiful form being worshipped in Tamil Nadu on the right-hand side, where it is being bathed in milk as part of the Abhishek. There's a beautiful image that you have on the right-hand side of a multi-armed Narasimha, virtually in a Tandav pose, and of course ripping apart Hiranyakashipu's over his knee. And there is Prahlad down there with his hands folded. And this, of course, is in the classic Hoysala style. This is the amazing Kevala Narasimha image of the Vakataka period that we have from Ramtek in Maharashtra, not far from Nagpur. And if you're in that vicinity, I strongly suggest that you visit it. A very, very beautiful image. Of course, all over southern India, as I said, his cult is very popular. He's seen on the outside of Gopurams as Yoga Narasimha very often. There are beautiful Chola-style images of him, again in bronze with Yoga Patta, and there are stone images also that you see on the right-hand side, very much in worship. The turmeric that is smeared all over him again is to keep him calm and to keep him cool. One of the other great images is as Lakshmi Narasimha, and you will see this in the paintings very often, where the lion-headed Vishnu has Lakshmi sitting on his lap. I've already discussed this before when I talked about Lakshmi. One of the most beautiful ones, though, is actually what is often called the Yoga Narasimha of Hampi, which is not a Yoga Narasimha, but actually a Lakshmi Narasimha. And you can see the bottom image, that is the back of the image, and you can see Lakshmi's hand still there. So originally there was a beautiful Lakshmi image, but when this image was very badly battered and weathered, was put back together, it was sadly put back together wrong. So there should have been an image of Lakshmi seated on his left knee, but her beautiful and delicate hand is still clasping his wrist to say, there, she's still there. You see the Sharava imagery, and this is the classic Sharava image shown in bronze on the left-hand side, and on the bottom, on the right-hand side, you see the Sharava, and you see him keeping down Narasimha with his hands, or with his paws, whatever. The six-legged image is very common. Sometimes he's a bird lion as seen, or a bird tiger as seen on the top, on the right-hand side of the painting. So this is again a very interesting part of the iconography of Narasimha. And of course, you see Narasimha in paintings all over the place. So the Kangra school, the Pahadi school, the Rajput miniatures, South Indian miniatures, the temple paintings, the paintings of the Tanjore style, all of them have different images of Narasimha, but usually it is always the Ugra Narasimha rending Hiranyashipu and pulling out his entrails. If you look on the top right hand image, you can see the entrails being yanked out in one hand, while the other two are busy tearing his belly further. In many of them, he's actually tiger skinned. So you can see his paws as half man, half lion, or tiger in this case. He is actually half tiger in his upper half. And of course, on the left-hand side at the bottom here, you have a beautiful multi-armed image in the Southern Indian style, and you have Alaga, of course, on the side over there. Very, very popular even in modern art. On the left-hand side is my late friend from Moli Arts. Beautiful image of him blowing apart the pillar and bringing himself forth. And on the right-hand side again is a more classical depiction in the modern arts of him. His most important temple, perhaps, is the Lakshmi Varaha Narasimha temple of Simhachalam in Andhra Pradesh. The second largest temple after the Venkateshwara temple, the Tirumala Devasthana temple. Okay, this is the next temple in line in importance and funds and monies that it gets. Very few people really realize that this is it. Everybody's eyes are on Tirupati. This is an amazing temple complex, enormous worshippers throng there. This is one of the 32 important Narasimha temples in Andhra Pradesh. And the cult of Narasimha is essentially an Eastern Indian cult that was amalgamated into the Vishal, and is a very, very popular cult over here. And here the image is interesting. For 364 and a half days, you see the left-hand side part of the lower image, which says Nitya Rupam, is covered in a mound of sandalwood. So the entire image that is worshipped is covered in a mound of sandalwood to keep it cool. Because this is supposed to be the most Ugra image of Narasimha. There's some very interesting legends. Do look it up on the internet. And once a year for half a day, the actual image is freed from this shielding or coating or whatever you want to call it, and is cleansed, bathed, and then a new layer of sandalwood paste is applied onto it and covered. And interestingly, when you see the image, it's quite worn, but when you see the actual image, you realize that it is a Varaha image. So this is the Lakshmi Varaha Narasimha temple, and the image that is worshipped as Narasimha is actually a Varaha image. And this is a very, very interesting twist in the tale. So thank you very much for being with us for one more day on the A to Z of iconography. For those of you all who are interested in what we've been doing in the last year, the INSTUCEN Summer School has been on for some time now, where we are giving away, virtually giving away, throwing away all the amazing material that we have collected throughout the year in the form of various courses and lectures for just 500 rupees. It's just 500 rupees for 3 months access to all the material from last year. For students, there's a further discount and it's just 200 rupees. As I keep saying repeatedly, itna paisa mein itna kahin nahi milega. And for those of you all who'd like to follow us, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, and we are on LinkedIn. So just search for INSTUCEN, that's INSTUCEN, and you will come across us on all of these social media platforms. Do like the video today, do press the bell icon and subscribe, and do share with your friends. Do comment and do let us know what you thought of what we're doing over here. Thank you very, 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 very much for being with us, and stay safe. We'll see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow is O, the letter O, and we will be discussing the iconography of Om. So looking forward to seeing you. Take care and have a nice day.